All right. Now, just to continue with the subject here, I get some responses from people, not just on this channel, but other platforms for years. And I'm talking about black people, black Americans. I get this response from them as if they think they're almost offended that I would say that black Americans are on the path to extinction. But all groups are on the path to extinction. That's just the way the world is. If you go back in time far enough, you most likely, you won't find any of the ethnicities that's on the earth now back then. You can search the internet and you can find several lists of ethnic groups that are extinct, that are no longer here. So groups going extinct, that's a part of nature. It's inevitable. It's going to happen eventually. There will be no such thing as black Americans. Won't be no such thing as America. Okay, it'll be called something else. So we know, it's an irrefutable fact that groups go extinct. I know a lot of people are aware of the Taino Indians who went extinct recently. I also read about some groups who went extinct in almost like a 400-year period. Okay? But this was like 50,000 people. But when you're targeted, when your group is targeted, that's going to speed up the extermination process. It's not extreme at all. It's just reality. It's just being real. And I get it. A lot of people in general, not just black Americans, they don't think they don't think about stuff like that. Stuff like that is usually things that the scientists ponder over. The world leaders, people in high places, rulers, people in high places, they look deep into the future. The average simple-minded person does not. They don't see any benefit in looking deep into the future. But if you're going to go extinct, it's better not to empower other people in the process. My question is, what happens after we go extinct? Who else is going to benefit from our inventions, and how long will they benefit from it? Any and all people, black Americans, should have a problem with that. Because I believe that after black Americans are gone, I believe rap will still be here. I believe R&B music will still be here. And I believe people are going to capitalize on several things that we've created long after we're gone. That has been the whole plan from the get-go. We already have a long list of things invented by black Americans that black Americans don't get credit for. So I'm not being far-fetched at all. I'm being as realistic as you can be. Who's going to benefit? Okay, black Americans. In order for any group to survive, they need certain things. Without question, there are certain things that they need, and there are certain things that they cannot deal with if they are to survive. One, they need land. You've never heard of no group maintaining as a identifiable group with no land, no territory. There's nowhere for them to, cultivate and strengthen whatever culture or whatever they have. There's the cohesion is called destabilization. In fact, I read about one group. I think it's this one right here. Or it could be the Taino Indians. Yeah, it was the Taino Indians. Check this out. They actually say exactly that about one of these people. Said that one of the reasons why they went extinct, here it is right here. Let me see if I can increase this. Yeah. Right here. So in 1536, there was 50,000 of them. We're dealing with the Yarigues, a Spanish ethnic group. 1536, there was 40,000 of them. 3 centuries later, there was only 15,000. And by 1940, they were all gone. So that took roughly 400 years for them to go extinct. About 400 years ago. Now, how did it happen? The blame for the final extinction of this community is due to the new mestizo colonists who invaded their territory in search of pasture land. People, that's what happened here in America. Black Americans were here before the Europeans. Very well documented fact. Same thing happened here. And look, additionally, the construction of a road. Okay, this is not it. This is not it. But they say it about a group here. They say that one of the reasons they went extinct is because they assimilated. Okay, they described it just like that. Said they assimilated. And then in parentheses, they said that assimilation is another way to destabilize groups. They said that. And I will most likely eventually find it. And as soon as I find it, I will share that link in the community section. But this is just a part of nature. No group of people lasts forever. It's not just the Egyptians that you can refer to. A lot more groups. And remember, Egypt involved several ethnicities as well. They were not all one group of people. They wasn't. So it's actually unrealistic to think that Black Americans won't go extinct. That's the fantasy. That is what is delusional. Thinking that we're going to be here forever. No, we're not. But what I don't want to do is empower other people other than Black Americans while we're here and long after we're gone. And that seems like the plan. We've all noticed how they've tried to steal hip hop here recently. This is one of the craziest things in history. The way Caribbeans sloppily try to claim even partial ownership and creation of hip hop. And this is shortly before breakdancing is going to become a part of the Olympics. Their plan is to make money off Black American culture for as long as possible in the foreseeable future. Because understand, they're going to have breakdancing in the Olympics. People, breakdancing is played out. They're rubbing it in our faces. The fact that we've created historical elements of culture that we ourselves don't value. So they're about to take it and, like, hey, we'll show you how valuable it is. Want to give everything we create away and share it with everybody. Other people don't think like that, you see? And that's the slave mentality that we have. How we're easy to just let other people join in and go ahead and take it. Eventually, people try to take advantage of that because that's not a normal way people function and operate. So we're going to have to understand that we're on the path to extinction. We got a lot of our mentality is really a prep for extinction. I've talked about this desire to lighten ourselves up. That involves copulating with people who are not Black American. There's no way around that. Black Americans are not fair-skinned. We're not fair-skinned people. Okay? Yet, we're the only group of people. People think I'm crazy, but I stand on anything I say. We're the only group of people on this planet who say that if we copulate with somebody who is not a Black American, their offspring is still Black American. No other group is that silly. Sadly, other groups got more pride in their bloodline than to fantasize and say something false like that. Because really, that's just a way for you to disrespect your own blood. For a white person to say that if a white person has a kid with a Black person, to call that child Black, that's disrespectful to both bloodlines. Yours for not considering the infusion of non-Black blood, and the white or Asian, whoever it is, them for not considering their own blood in the biracial offspring. Because there are some mixed couples where the non-Black partner will consider their kid Black. You'll find white women who say, yeah, I got Black kids. You'll find Asian women, yeah, I got Black kids. No, you don't. And that's disrespectful to your blood that flows in your kids' veins. In fact, your DNA, your phenotype is all over that biracial baby. There's no way around it. To call a biracial offspring Black or white is disrespectful. But we're living in an age where people don't have any respect for themselves, so that does not surprise me. But understand, Black Americans, we're the only one who have that. We're the only ones who think like that. And that is a very dysfunctional and embarrassing mentality, in my opinion. Some of your favorite, most iconic Black leaders have said that. Okay? There's no such thing as biracial in a white supremacist society. Do you know how much power that gives white people and white supremacists when you say that? You're basically saying it doesn't matter what reality is. Whatever white supremacists call biracial people, that's what they are. I don't think so. No, I'm going to refer to them based on the truth. See, this is the problem. People having an issue with the truth can't face and accept reality as it is. I don't get into that. I'm not wired like that. I'm a dark-skinned Black American, but I know for a fact I have some non-Black American blood in me. I know that for a fact. I'm not going to front or hide it. Okay? So that's bad. Black Americans have this mentality. Oh, you got a biracial baby, that's a Black baby. That's Black gene dominant. That's so backwoods and ignorant, and it needs to stop. Just like dropping the N-word. That's so played out, backwoods, and ignorant, and needs to stop. You know what dropping the N-bomb really is? It's a bunch of black people who feel like they won't sound as hip and cool no more if they stop using the word. It's real corny. It's real cornballish. Where they have made using that word a part of their spirit and character, a part of their identity. And they feel like they won't come off as player-ish or as hip, which is a sign of mental weakness. It's really a sign of weakness. Where you can't talk like a mature, intelligent adult. You still gotta talk like a hypnotized, brainwashed, demonic slave. Because it was nothing but a bunch of evil people in high places who put billions of dollars behind normalizing the use of that word. Billions of dollars that black Americans themselves didn't have. And you just show that you're weak-minded when you start to play along with their program. And you weak-minded, believing that you can't come across as strong, that you can't use words to make a powerful statement. You gotta use the N word. You gotta drop the N-bomb so that people feel you. Another sign that you're mentally weak. But listen, I don't come down too hard on people who use the word. I understand that it's a word that it's easy to stick to you if you grew up using it. It's part of your character. It's almost, you think people won't even recognize you no more if you don't use the word. And that's too bad. But no matter how you look at it, it's a sign that you're uncultured and immature and weak-minded. And it shows that you don't have no true respect for yourselves. As black Americans, you don't have much respect for your ancestors who had to endure being called that word with no choice in the matter. So we are on a path to extinction. Y'all been paying attention to the news at how many immigrants, illegal immigrants, are flooding this country? There's something behind that. There are a whole lot of plans, and these people don't look poor at all. This is like the most dangerous thing you could possibly do, period. They talk about this as being the thing that destroyed Rome. Right? They say Rome fell for this exact same reason, letting a bunch of foreigners just come in and flood your borders. No other group does that. And y'all remember what was up with this balloon that flew over here? It was over there by Colorado or somewhere. Okay? And then you just had this situation in Virginia, and you got a bunch of foreigners flooding the borders, and many of these foreigners look like they got money. Many of them do look like military officers. Ask yourself what's going on. We have already been the targets of terrorist attacks. Talking about us black Americans, multiple. Even within the past 10 years. That's no different from any of those Middle Eastern groups that are constantly dealing with terror attacks. We're going through the exact same thing. And the people who's targeting black Americans got more power than black Americans. Got the power to spy on them with high-tech gadgets. Got the power to use high-tech stuff like robotic dogs. Essentially got a whole military. And you really think black Americans gonna survive? Even 200 years in the future, I think is far-fetched. You've never seen any ethnic group as targeted as black Americans. These people have essentially shaped the whole society based around our presence. It's because of black Americans that the United States has a police force, has life insurance. It's because black Americans, they have a lot of things in place. How many programs in the law they created? COINTELPRO, they created a bunch of little programs like that designed to spy on black Americans and do what? Make sure there's no messiahs that are born in black America. Because we don't want anybody to lead them, because we're going to lead them somewhere. It should bother you. If you're thinking about survival of an ethnic group, it should bother you how invested a more powerful group is in controlling you. No matter how you cut it, the United States government wants to always have complete control over the existence of black Americans. No matter how you cut it. Our government itself will fight against segregation, separation. Our government itself will fight for integration. Not because they love you, but because they'd rather you be integrated and have complete control over your minds rather than to be separated and let black Americans be in control of our minds. They don't want us to be the ones who program and conditions our minds. They want to be the ones that do all that. That should bother you if you're thinking about the survival of black Americans deep into the future. And how much more power does this group have than black Americans? We don't want to have that discussion. Right? A conversation like that will get depressing real quick. They're so invested in controlling us economically, depriving us, denying reparations after they robbed several generations of our ancestors. They're actually getting off right now on spitting in our faces. They're getting a kick out of disrespecting us, killing us, depriving us, basically just terrorizing us, our whole existence. They're getting off on it. They're having far more fun. One thing they don't want to do is let us just govern and condition ourselves. They're so invested in controlling our minds that they have forced each and every one of our most influential, the people who are most influential in black America is entertainers. Sadly, they're the most influential. And all of them are puppets of the system. They're all given instructions to push destructive lyrics and lifestyles. They're all given instructions to have a negative influence on black America. Again, another reason why I don't like Truth Is TV. You know, I appreciate what he's pointing out very much so. Don't get me wrong. I do appreciate that he's shedding light on it, and I'd rather he shed light on it than not. But this idea that they're doing it to target the urban community, you notice how he always says that the rappers are put in place to mislead the urban community. Urban. You never say black people, black Americans. That's like the nasty word you never say. You don't say black people. You say people of color, disenfranchised, urban communities. No. Fact is, black American rappers, black American singers, entertainers have more of an influence on black America than they have on other groups. Other groups might partake in a little bit, but for the most part, other groups say themselves, that's their culture. That's black American culture. That's not our culture. We just have fun with it sometimes, listen to some of the music. They don't really internalize these rappers and entertainers the way Black Americans do, because they came from our communities, not nobody else's. So the primary targets is Black Americans. And the truth is, could shed light on that. But again, it seems like the whole world has taken the oath to never point out when Black Americans are being targeted, which is why Black Americans recently have stopped putting on a cape for other groups. We're not putting on cape for nobody. Don't nobody put on capes for us. We the nasty people you ain't supposed to say. Just say people of color. Just say urban community. They doing that primarily trying to target Black Americans, flat out. Now, because they're so sick, they are also trying to get the souls of their own people. They don't care. They want as many souls as possible. But there's a different plan for us. And it's seen in the lyrics that our most influential people are instructed to push. The goal for us is extermination. See? Extermination. These immigrants that are being flooded in here, the intent is for them to be absorbed into white society and to ensure that white Americans don't go extinct. Because those immigrants, they're putting on their paperwork that they're white. And they have a strong desire already to copulate with a white person. And white America views that as a way for them to bolster their numbers. Yeah, they might get a little browner, but at least they won't go extinct. And they will still always call themselves white. However, these will not really be white people. They will be foreign people who are going to have even less mercy on Black Americans. That's when you really going to see these Black Americans being seriously targeted. Because among all other groups, there's a population among them that are riders, that are good people, and there's a population in all of their countries that hate our guts. That's as real as it could possibly get. Yeah, I acknowledge not all people of any group is against Black Americans. Many of them rock with us. Like I said, many of them have absorbed our culture, and they will say that they have absorb our culture. A lot of times Black Americans go to these other countries, a lot of those people over there will go crazy when they find out you're Black American. Hey, yeah, they embrace your culture and all that. They'll start breakdancing right there in front of you and all that. I'm not saying it's everybody, but be real. And I don't trust nobody, whether you Black or not, who try to pretend like this is not the truth. You better acknowledge the fact there are crazy people in your group, just like you expect Black Americans to. You expect us to acknowledge how crazy we are, so shut up and do the same thing. So these foreigners are being brought in to bolster their numbers. Okay, I can't think of any other reason why they'd be doing this. America's never really been big on immigration like that, where they just taking people from all over the world, not just Europeans, because they realize Europeans all over the world, their numbers are dropping. So in order to strengthen, their vitality, they have to bring in some people who got some brown in them. Listen, man, their scientists know that in order for any group of people to survive, you need to possess a decent or respectable amount of melanin. Their own white scientists have discovered. That's why they take melatonin and all this other crap. It's just a necessary element of the universe for life. It's everywhere in space. Melanin is in space, man. It's everywhere. And that's not a swipe at white people. White people, the ones who broke all this stuff down. And so if they bring in some, little brown people and they mix in, The thing is, there's already a culture in place that desires to become whiter and whiter. So these people from Armenia and these different places of the world where they're kind of a little more brown, that's okay. That's okay, because that brown is going to be whitened. They're going to put white on their paperwork, and then they're most likely going to marry a white person. If not, their kids most likely going to marry a white person. See how that works? And they will continue, they will always call themselves white. Do y'all really think we going to continue to thrive and exist as Black Americans up under the authority of several groups? You hear all those people who call in, you hear these people on their Twitter spaces. And for people who think I'm being anti-immigrant, you better understand, I spend a lot of time listening to foreigners. They're all over Twitter spaces. They have Twitter spaces talking about us all the time. So you really think we gonna fare well as they play Ring Around the Rosie, dominating and ruling over us? That's one of the worst positions we could possibly be in. And that is what we're headed. That's the direction we're headed. Now, who do you think is going to be the next over us? Whoever the next powerful, it's looking like China. But it really don't matter who it is. Every group on this planet has a group of people among them with nothing but straight vitriol towards Black Americans, because they look at spewing vitriol towards us as a way to prop themselves up and feel good about themselves. They have absorbed the anti-Black American rhetoric that has come out of America for hundreds of years. As early as the late 1800s, they were putting out propaganda. That's the era of scientific racism. Oh, Negroes are really animals. They're 3/4 of a human. They're closer to apes. They're putting this in the academic, in schools. So all these years of dehumanizing Black Americans, degrading them, we see the results of that when you hear these people speak on these Twitter spaces. That's where it's coming from. Excuse me. And they've identified with the racists. Identified with the racists. That is not a promising future. That's not a promising future. Haven't got reparations. We don't have an internal economy that's working in our favor. It's working in favor of all other groups. Even right now, the majority of people who get our wealth is whites, Asians, and Arabs. They don't have that problem. We're not dominating no Chinese economy. We got unique problems. You telling me that's not putting you on a path to extinct? That's exactly what the path of extinction to extinction look like and feel like. Where what they say, like a nickel circulate in the Black community, we got serious problems. And it's starting with the fact that we do not have our own territory. People, the fact is, any and all leaders who have refused to support and promote Black Americans having their own land, territory, and existing as an independent people, they failed you as leaders. Any and all leaders who failed to support that have failed us as leaders. If you talking about survival, you need your own territory. And I feel sorry for any and all Black people who don't believe that we would take better care of ourselves than other groups will. Ain't no other group gonna take as good a care as Black Americans as they take of themselves. Ain't no other group gonna put us on their level, economically and otherwise. We gotta face it, as Black people, we're the opposite of everybody else in so many ways. So much so, we're the type of people who have to be independent. We the last types of people that need to depend on other people. And we're the first people to be on the path to extinction if you're under the authority of other people. Anybody who's in there, who's civilized, will co-sign with this and say, yeah, Black Americans need to leave them people alone. Let them go off to themselves. Let them have their own territory. Now look, there'll be many Black Americans who don't want to live in all Black territory. Fine. Go live wherever you want to live. Go do whatever you want to do. Do all that. But the people who would like some independence, we've earned that. We've earned that and then some. We've earned the right to have our own territory. We've been dehumanizing ourselves by pushing this idea that we don't deserve to have our own state. Are you out of your mind? We deserve more than a state, a single state. And to be honest, I don't even think we could all fit in one state. I'm telling you now. And this is another reason for this high influx of immigrants. Black Americans are the biggest ethnic group in this country. I say it again. Black Americans are the biggest ethnic group in this country. That's what I believe. I've gone over my criticism of the census. And the fact is, some 85% of all Americans live in urban cities. And when you go to the cities of the United States, they're jam-packed with Black Americans. Jam-packed. We ain't making up no 12% of this country. This idea that there are more not Spanish, I think they say Hispanic. Yeah, they say there are more Hispanic, that Hispanics are the largest ethnic group in America. I challenge y'all to prove it. Prove it. Yeah, you go to LA and in some of the areas out west, you might see a lot of Mexicans. You don't see a lot of Mexicans in Detroit, Columbus, Cleveland. Not like that. Cincinnati, nowhere in Ohio. Chicago. Chicago got a lot of Mexicans, but I don't know if there are more Mexicans than Black Americans. Y'all need to stop listening to these statistics. When it comes to Black people, virtually all them statistics is lies. And there are so many people who know that. Some of these stats are obvious lies. That is called propaganda. Statistics always manipulated at our expense. Always. And I'm saying when a dominant group has the power to mount propaganda like that against you, you're in a precarious spot. And based on history, you are on a path to extinction. And icing on the cake, the Black male-female gender wars. I have a question, and I want references. Give me 5 channels of Asian men preaching to other Asian men to not date Asian women. I want 5 channels of white men preaching to other white men not to date white women. 5 channels of white women preaching to other white women not to date white men. 5 channels of Asian women preaching to Asian women to not date Asian men. Are other groups as preoccupied as Black Americans with teaching and preaching to their own people to stop reproducing? When you step back and you look at that, these are an insane group of people. I don't care what you went through that got you to this point where you preaching to your own people to not reproduce with each other. I don't care what process got you to that point. Right now, you are out of your flipping minds and you're on the path to extinction. We'll see if Black Americans develop the mentality, economic, and a code of survival. Now, I don't want to, take for granted we are well known to talk about our problems. I give Black Americans credit for that. I've said this several times. You really only see Black Americans talking about our issues. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Give me a few channels where white Americans are talking about the dysfunctional mentalities and things in white America. I'm not aware of them. I'm not aware of other people talking about the ills in their society. And I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's some Chinese people who talk about, and I'm not talking about political stuff. I'm talking about race-related stuff on a social level, where you got dysfunctional households and things going on. And in that dynamic, you got dysfunctional relationships, trouble like that. So I give Black Americans a whole lot of credit for recognizing that we got issues and at least trying to work on them. But boy, there's a lot of work to be done. Hey, look, we don't have no control over it. We might as well face it for what it is. We did not ask to be born in this position, but everybody in all groups just got to accept the role that they were born into. Okay? No control over it. But listen, the madness, that's not going to prolong our survival. This preaching that, hey, you better not don't mess with Black women. Don't mess with Black men. You can do what you want. All I'm saying that your mentality has you on a path to extinction. Like I said, we'll see if Black Americans develop the mentality to sidestep it. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Moochie in the house. I'll see y'all on the next live stream.